Today we're going to do a few more technical things to work with our spreadsheets and get them ready for our analysis. The first thing we want to do is make the spreadsheet publicly viewable, which will let us use some tools associated with that. So we're going to go to the share settings and we're going to change it so that anyone with the link has the ability to view the spreadsheet. And whenever we've got that done, it's going to allow us to go down here toward the bottom and try some of these explorational tools. So the first one we'll look at is this Tags Explorer, and if you open this up, it's going to show you a couple of things you can do to visualize and get an overall sense of this data. One warning is these can be kind of slow and clunky, and they use a fair amount of resources on your web browser. So if you run into huge problems with these, it's no big deal. But you can come in here and see like who is posting the most tweets. Which will give you a quick overview of the conversation. Is it a lot of people? Is it one or two people? You kind of get a sense for that. You can also see things like what are the associated hashtags that people are using. So obviously on this one with mask on, there's COVID-19, coronavirus. And you can see top conversationalists. This is a little misleading. It has to do with how many people have been added. So it doesn't necessarily mean this person is having a conversation with someone. It just means that they are networked in with people tweeting at them, or maybe they are tweeting at other people. But you can experiment with that too. And once you kind of start to poke around, you'll see there are even some other tools. So we chose one user here, and then you can do this kind of timed display, which will show you what's going on with some of these users. So here we see that people are tweeting at the real Donald Trump account, and you'll see arrows that will show the directionality. That's not that that account is tweeting outward, it's people tweeting at that account. And you can see a timeline moving here, which is giving you a sense of how this conversation is playing out, and that could be important if you're studying something that's associated with an event and you wanted to look at it. So anyway, these are overview tools that you may want to experiment with. The one, and again, they take resources on your browser and sometimes can be a little clunky. So if it's too frustrating, don't worry about it. You don't have to use these tools. The analysis we're going to do is in the spreadsheet. And one of the other ones that I'll show you, I haven't been able to get to work yet, is this Tags Archive, which essentially is the same data that's in the spreadsheet itself that we're going to look at. So this may spin for a while. If it ever works for you, then you can use this to kind of browse through the tweets, but it's certainly not necessary, and we're going to skip this and move on to what do you do with these actual tweets in the data. So let's look at that a little bit. So for that, we're going to work in the spreadsheet. And the first thing we want to do is duplicate our spreadsheet so that we're not working with the original tweets that are being collected. So these tabs at the bottom allow us to do that. I'm going to duplicate this and then rename it to create a working copy. So you want to get comfortable with this spreadsheet. You can manipulate these tabs and use different tabs as you create different versions of your data that you're going to work with. So we now have our regular data here that's pristine, and we have a second copy we can work on. Now we're going to do some filtering, and you're going to need to go up to the toolbar and find this funnel icon, which allows you to create a filter. Once you've got that, you can choose any column that you want to filter and do different manipulations with the columns. What we're going to do is filter the column with the tweets and try to take out the retweets. And the process is we're going to click on this little funnel icon here, and then we're going to filter by condition and look for text that does not contain the phrase RT. And if we go do that, then you'll see that all the retweets have been taken out of these tweets here. One problem is you're going to see that these numbers are now kind of out of whack. So we go from row 22 to row 39, and that's going to make it difficult to kind of just do your work with these tweets. So we're going to copy all of these, and then what we're going to do is add them into a new sheet. So I hit the plus sign, I make a new sheet, and I'm going to call this my no retweets or cleaned tweets, something that'll give me even another version. And then I'm going to paste all of those filtered tweets into this worksheet. And as soon as I do that, you're going to see that I now am going to have a collection of tweets that contains no retweets and has the row numbers all kind of lined up. So I'm going to be in good shape now to have a bunch of original tweets without retweets that I can start to analyze. Finally, we're going to cut this down to be around 100 tweets, which is just going to facilitate our reading of the corpus here. I'm just going to scroll down to tweet number 101 and select it, and I'm going to scroll down to the bottom to my last tweet. This could be thousands of tweets depending on your spreadsheet, so it could get a little tedious, but I'm going to hold down the Shift key and then click on the last row, and then that will select all of those rows, and then I'm going to just delete those rows so I have about 100. You can do this in different ways. You can also use a filter and set a date. You might choose a particular period if there's an event or something you want to look at. The main thing is we need to reduce this to about 100 so that we're able to go through here and read this. And there can be a little bit of randomness to it because we're just taking a sample of this conversation.